Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project, and thank you for tuning in. Our guest today is Sara Im. She is an amazing woman. She is an award-winning author, speaker, the owner of a wellness business called Smart Healing Living, and the co-host of a weekly live show on Facebook called A Thriving Conversation. Sara is also a survivor. I keep getting chills when I read this, of the Killing Fields in Cambodia, and was held captive by the Communist Khmer Rouge for 4 years in a harsh labor camp. She is the author of the book, How I Survived the Killing Fields. And Sara believes that because she survived, it is part of her duty to help others go beyond survival and live a life of harmonious unity in body, mind, and spirit. Sara, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Cheryl. It's my pleasure.
It's an honor to meet you. Your story is just so amazing. I can't even find the words to really describe how I feel when I read about it.
I appreciate that.
So tell us your story. You were actually in university and it was 1975 and everything changed.
Yes, yes. Um, I grew up in a family that my parents are farmers, and I was the firstborn child.
Mm,
And as you can imagine, how much I feel, how much love and secure I felt.
mm,
And my parents they believe in higher education.
mhm,
They did not want me to grow up to be a farmer.
mhm,
So that's why they instill in me since my young age to keep doing well in school and get higher education.
mhm,
That's why as soon as I graduate from high school, I
mhm.
register for college. And college is now near my hometown. It's far away. It's in the capital city of Cambodia. It's called Phnom Penh, which
Mhm,
is about 300 miles away from home. So I
mhm.
left my family and my hometown behind and went to college and pursuing a degree in engineering.
Oh, wow.
I was good in math, so engineering is something that I imagine I might enjoy. So that's
Mhm,
why,
mhm,
while I was studying, enjoying. In April 1975, the Communist Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia.
mhm.
The day that they took over, they came in, marching in like a military style.
Oh, jeez.
They have the truck, the tank, the big, big weapon, and all the soldiers are marching. They wear black clothes and they
Mhm.
have the big automatic rifle on their shoulder and carry and marching in. And we did not know what to expect. We realized that okay, the fighting between the previous government and the new group, no more fighting.
Oh,
The war is over. We are going to have peace. So
oh.
that's what we were thinking, just a glimpse of our hope that we are
Mm.
going to have peace.
So
But
you weren't terrified by the sight of the soldiers and all of the military equipment and the guns. You thought this was actually a positive event.
most of us are thinking about that because they are Cambodian also. How bad could it be? We was totally wrong.
Mm.
The next day they went door to door with their big gun and they
Oh.
demand that everybody need to leave right away, go away. So we were frightened. I grabbed just a few clothes and a
Mhm.
little bit of food that we have in the house, and I left. I left. At that time, I was hiding with my uncle and his family in the empty school building. Nothing is open during that time. All the school, all the hospital, well, not the hospital, but all the marketplace are all closed. There's nothing open because we just celebrate New Year.
Oh.
Cambodian New Year, we celebrate 3 days. And when we celebrate New Year, everything was closed. So they came in during that time when everything was closed. They don't need to do too much work to close up everything. So we were frightened and left everything that we found that it's security. We stepped out into the street and we walked among the crowd. Everybody was walking, crying, and terrifying. And nobody can drive. Nobody can take a motorcycle or car or anything because even though you can take, but you cannot get the gas because everything was closed. And then also on top of that, the bank was closed. If you have some money in the pocket, the money is no use anymore. The money become like just a piece of paper. So people are just so desperate, just so frightened about the whole thing.
What about food? Did you have enough food at this time, or were you all running out of food? Everybody's in the same boat, and if nothing's open, how in the world did you get enough to eat?
We just go without food. No. There's nothing we can do.
Wow.
So we just hope that we don't have to walk too long. We will end up in the village somewhere somehow. So that's what we did. We walked about a few weeks. We slept on the ground, and finally we arrived in the village far away from the city. And there was the people in the village was kind enough to take us in temporarily to be their guests until we get settled, build our own shelter. So
during this time, were the villagers able to have food and mobility? They were able to get around.
Yes, because they are now part of the city life. So the Communist Khmer Rouge, they came in with madness. They are mad with the city people. They don't like the people in the city. And they already groomed the villager that, the crowd will be coming. So the village expect to receive new people. But anyway, we were sent to work in the rice field not long after we arrived. So I was frightened also because I never know what to do in the rice field. My parents did not train me to do anything. So I was pretty nervous. But I tried to learn as fast as I can. And then there was something, they announced that they want people move to a different region of the country. And they said, if you want to move to Battambang or Pusan, Battambang was the province where I grew up with. So that's my hometown. When I heard that announcement, I said, yes, me. I was so happy that I might be able to go home.
During this time, had you had any contact with your family? So you had no idea how they were doing, or if they were okay, or if they even knew what had happened to you and where you were.
No, we did not have any contact. Remember, everything was closed. Even the post office is closed, and we did not have cell phone like we
Right.
have today.
Right.
But even if the cell phone, it might work for one day,
Yeah.
and then everything, then when the battery when go off, you don't have anything.
Jeez.
So I have no idea what happened to my family, and they didn't know what happened to me. And during that walk, I cried so much because I want to be home, to be with family. You know, everything when something happened to you, to us, to we always want to be close to the people that we love.
Right.
In my case, I was so desperate that I cannot get a hold of my family. So when they announced that they want to have people move to Battambang, I signed up. And my uncle and his family also decided to go along with me because they didn't want me to go by myself. And we end up in the middle of nowhere. We did not get to Battambang. Disappointment, to say the least.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So we were dropped in the middle of nothing. So we had to start building our shelter, everything, and make a home there.
Again, what did you do for food? Did you just eat what you could find in the ground, what was growing?
Yeah, this is a small village far away from everything, but
Okay.
there are some people there.
Okay.
So we I don't remember exactly how we got started, but there are some people, and we were able to ask for help to get started. And then in Cambodia, there are a lot of water, like creek and all that, and we can do fishing. We can ask people for some rice, and we cook the rice and find the fish, and just just something to get by. And we start to build our shelter and find a way to do fishing and get food. And then not long after that, there was another draft. There was another announcement that they are looking for single men and women to go to, get trained to do something. So I'm always on the move because I want to get going, that because my hope is that I might find my family. That's all I thought about. I'm keep moving. But this second time, I was stuck, pretty much stuck in the big camp. And this camp was surrounded by armed guard. They have big gun, and everywhere they walk and watch us all the time. So we were put to work in a very harsh condition and long hours. About food, you keep asking about food. This time we don't have to prepare our own food. They have a kitchen. They have the people who make the food for a lot of people. So in this camp, there were 1,000 of us, 1,000, all single men and women. But the food is not enough. They give us very little food, and not enough nutrition to support us. So eventually we end up getting very sick, and our immunity is getting very weak. And when somebody gets sick, we almost all of us get sick because we pass on to each other. So I become sick. I started out with high fever, and then malaria, and then typhoid. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
no medication. You survived typhoid with no medication.
yeah.
Now, while you were sick, were you still required or forced to still continue to work?
At the beginning, yes, I
Wow.
still had to go to work. I I was miserable, sick, and work hard in the heat.
Mm,
So, but eventually, when at one point I cannot do it anymore.
mhm,
When I cannot work, they sent me to. They said you need to go to the hospital. But
mhm.
when I get to the place they call hospital, I realized this is not a hospital.
Oh,
It's the place for us to
to
stay
die.
there and waiting maybe for a time to die.
Oh,
So
gee.
it just um it was another disappointment to say the least. So
I,
I
I just,
really
I
yeah,
just can't. I mean, I'm trying to visualize because at this point in your life, you're probably what, 19, 20 years old, and you have no family around you. You're no longer with your uncle and his family. You're among strangers and soldiers who are pointing guns at you all the time. You have very little food. You're working like in under inhumane conditions, and then you end up so ill. I can't believe that you survived.
I can't believe myself either.
I,
When
I
I
mean,
look
it's a miracle, really, that you survived it.
when I look back, I say, how could I make that?
Yeah.
Anyway, so when I got into this, I give a name infirmary. So this infirmary, I realized that a lot of people here in this infirmary are sick, and I cannot afford to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
That much I know.
Mm-hmm.
If I keep staying there, I will get more disease, and
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do it.
Right.
My goal is just to keep myself alive so
Mm-hmm.
that one day I will be able to go find my family and help them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's all my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to do, but I remember I believe in God. I I know that He exists. So this time I turn to God because I
Mm-hmm.
cannot do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I wait until nighttime and I sit and I pray and ask God to help me. So every night when everybody go to sleep, I sit up and pray. And
Mm-hmm.
then after a while, one morning I woke up very early and I feel like, oh, I can walk out from here. So I sneak out. I sneak out from the infirmary. But because this is the where the sick people stay, the guard didn't pay too much attention. He said, these
Yeah.
people are going to die anyway. So I got back to where the working people are staying. And
Mm-hmm.
then I met one young team leader. She
Mm-hmm.
knows me before and she saw me coming. She feels sympathy for me. She say, okay, come, stay with me. I might find you something to do. So, and then she realized I'm too sick to do anything for her. And the next thing I know, she told me, I talked to the people in the kitchen and they say that they can use your help.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! Something is better
Mm-hmm.
coming. So, working in the kitchen is like a big blessing for me at that
Mm-hmm.
time
Mm-hmm.
because I have access to more food and
Mm-hmm.
I work in the shade in a better
Mm-hmm.
condition. I work less hours. I have time to sleep. And so all in all, it's a much better condition. So I start to feel better.
Mm-hmm. So you started to feel better physically, obviously, because now you had more food and you weren't working so hard. And were you recovering from your illnesses and your diseases that you had? Did you feel your health getting better?
Yeah, my health getting better. The sickness seemed to bother me less and less and less.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a remedy. It's the herbal remedy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leaves that I know from the young age. You say when you get sick with this, this kind of leaves. So I take advantage of that. So eventually I felt better. I recovered from my sickness. Guess what? They didn't keep me in the kitchen.
Oh,
They pulled me out and put me back in the right field again.
oh, that must have been so devastating,
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, psychologically.
But I look at that way. I look at this way. I said, well, at least I have a break, a
Yeah.
break to recover myself,
Right.
to start all over. If I did not have this break, I probably gone already.
Yeah.
So
Jeez.
I endured for the whole time 4 years in the
Oh,
rice field.
during that time, again, you were in the same conditions. You weren't getting enough food, I'm guessing, and the same harsh conditions in the
Mm,
sun, working all of those hours, never getting a break. How did you keep going? What was it that kept you strong enough physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually to continue every single day instead of just giving up and saying, this is it, I'm done?
yes, that's a very good question. Physically, I could not possibly do it,
Mhm.
but spiritually and emotionally, I am strong enough to pull my physical along with.
Mhm.
So spiritually, I believe that this bad thing is going to end someday, somehow. I don't
Mhm.
know how, but it cannot keep going like this. I have a
Mhm.
glimpse of hope. I don't know what I base from. Maybe my instinct, or maybe it's just my faith,
Mhm.
or just my nature. I'm an optimist nature. Um, but I believe that my love for my family it's keep me
Mhm.
going, because
Mhm.
that's what I live for.
Mhm.
I I believe in my heart that I cannot die, because I can be very useful for my family. I can be
Mhm.
very helpful. So
Mhm.
that's why I keep fighting for my life rather than giving up.
Mhm.
So
So that went on for 4 years. How did it end? And when it did end, were you able to be reunited with your family?
yes, 2 or 3 questions in one
I know.
sentence.
Sorry about that.
Yes, that's okay. It's good. So I know where I'm going. So after about 4 years, something changed in the horizon. There's some noise, some gun sound. So this came, all the guard and everything. They gather us, they round us up and push us further, closer and closer to the jungle. So they
Mhm.
move the camp.
Mhm.
And at the beginning, there were about 1,000, exactly 1,000. But by this time, we probably about 300 people left.
Oh,
Yeah, now not a whole lot, but some of us are tough and still alive.
yeah.
And when they push us closer and closer to the jungle, I realized that this is the wrong direction for me. I cannot find my family in the jungle. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, maybe God gave me a courage that this is time. This is time to do something. So I decided to escape.
So basically, that's the second time you escaped, because you pretty much escaped from the infirmary. So now you're getting better at this escaping thing.
Yeah. So so I gathered three of my close friends and I asked them, I told them, I want to escape. Would you go with me? And they all say yes. Thank God. So because I need support, I cannot do it by myself. I was so frail, so sick and all that. So my friends are still a little better than me. It's not much, but a little better. But all four of us, we plot a plan to sneak out. So we wait until nighttime. You know, nighttime in the jungle, it's quite dark.
Yeah.
There's no electricity, and we don't have a GPS. That's another thing. We have no idea where to go, but we try to imagine where we came from. So we try to trace back our track. And we want to make sure that we don't make noise to alert the guard. The guard, they are watching. So we made it out. We made it out in that night. Nobody caught us.
Wow. Where did you go then? I mean, I'm thinking of the jungle. At night would be absolutely terrifying. But the other thing that you were facing would be the soldiers with the guns. So, you know, they're both really terrifying situations. But I'm thinking, okay, the jungle at night, and you're trying to be really, really quiet. I'm thinking of the other things that live in the jungle that make the jungle their home, like, you know, tigers and lions and all kind of different predators and, you know, snakes.
Snake and all that. Yes.
Oh, oh.
I don't know how they are quiet, not bothering us. So it's just a miracle. It's a miracle that we made it out. So when the sun rises, we can see each other's face and we turn around and we didn't see all those guards. So we know that we are free.
Wow.
It's just so happy to know that we are free. But we don't know if the whole country, what happened to other people in the country. So we keep walking for a long walk, and then finally we saw some people. And those people doesn't seem to worry about anything. It seem to be free. So we asked them, you know, I was so amazed why there's so many people travel. And then I asked them for direction to go to Battambang, and they told me where to go and so on. But I was just wondering why these people did not stay in place like they're supposed to. I found out that the whole country had been liberated 4 months before this.
And you were still captive. Oh.
That's why there was some noise in the horizon.
That was the sound of the guns.
Yes. So yeah, after a long walk, I found out that everybody was liberated. That's why nobody seemed to care about the communists pointing the gun at them. So finally, I was able to track down my family when I found them. It's a long journey, and
yes, I'm sure.
And then I found my family.
And how was your family? How were they doing? How had they survived those 4 years that you were missing?
They were
Because they didn't know where you were.
Right. right.
Or if you were even alive.
Right. Like my dad, this is what I found out. My dad, after he had been liberated, he had a little a bicycle. So he rode his bicycle everywhere in different village and asked people, have you found my daughter? Have you found my daughter? Have you met my daughter? Everywhere he went for 4 months, nobody heard of me. So they thought that I already died, and they gave away my clothes and everything.
So,
Yes,
okay. So they think you're gone. They're mourning you. They're grieving for you. They have accepted that they're never going to see you again. They accepted it to the point where they even gave away your clothes. So what was it like when they saw you come walking, out of the jungle, so to speak, and they saw you for the first time?
yes. When I show up, I look like a 95 years old woman
Oh,
because all my face and everything is just like skin and bone, and I was so frail. And my mom told me long later, she didn't tell me right away. She told me she didn't recognize me at all. But
oh.
but my forehead, for some reason, she recognized my forehead of all the things. I guess forehead doesn't have much meat to go to lose. So, and one of my friend who interviewed me, she said, "Oh, I can relate to that because when I carry the baby, it's the forehead that I see all the time."
Okay, well, that makes sense then. What about you, siblings, brothers and sisters?
They all alive,
Mm-hmm.
but at one point, my whole family was together, trying to get out to escape, just like I did 4 months earlier, and they were spotted. The guards saw them, and they almost pulled the trigger. They
Oh.
almost pulled the trigger, and my brother next to me, he was ready to run, but
Mm-hmm.
my mom said, "Stop,
Yeah.
stop," and my mom sit down and she opened her blouse and she says, "Look, look, I'm so tired. I'm sick. Give me a
Mm-hmm.
break. Let me catch my breath."
Mm-hmm.
So they put down the gun.
It sounds like you come from a very smart family.
My mom, she's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you ever have a chance to read my book,
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
the whole
So,
book.
mm-hmm. So when did you immigrate to America? When did you come to the United States? And how did that happen? And did your family come with you? Did they stay behind? So tell us a little bit more about that. I'm so intrigued by this story. And I'm still, every time I look at you, it's like, I can't believe she's really here talking about this. And, I feel so honored that you're here with us today. So tell us what happened next as far as coming to the United States and your family.
Yeah, after I reunited with my family, I had to recover my health. It took
Mm-hmm.
me more than a year
Mm-hmm.
to fully recover because I have a certain condition that it's not resolved because of the whole situation.
Right.
But after I recover, my mom encouraged me, pushed me. She
Mm-hmm.
said, you know, during this whole time, the country was chaotic.
Oh,
There
yes.
is nothing going on. The people
Yeah.
that survived, they try to survive again because
Yeah.
they had to make a living. They had to
Mm-hmm.
raise the children. Most of the women already lost their spouse.
Yeah.
Most of the men did not make it
Mm.
because of the famine. and the hard work and all that. So a lot of widow, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
orphan.
Mm-hmm.
So we feel very frustrated. We feel fearful for our life and all that. My mom had a vision. She said, "Why don't you go out, get out, escape again?" The
Mm-hmm.
third time,
Third time.
I escaped out of Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
So I escaped to Thailand because
Mm-hmm.
Cambodia is next door to Thailand, and my my province is not too far from the border.
Okay.
So I find a way to go closer to the border and escape. And by that time, the United Nations already built the refugee camp to
Mm-hmm.
receive a lot of refugees that came.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I found my way out, and I made connection with my only relative in the United States. He came here a long time ago, and he sponsored me to come.
Mm-hmm.
So I came to United States in 1981, just
Mm-hmm.
before winter get to Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Oh,
imagine?
no.
Imagine. I came from the tropical.
Okay. All I have to say is that as you were recovering your health, I hope you were recovering your clothes as well. And I hope that some of those clothes were warm enough to at least get you through a Connecticut winter, but I'm pretty sure that they were not.
No.
Did
No.
you ever, even in your wildest dreams, imagine that a place could be so cold?
No. I still wear my flip flop.
That doesn't work well in the snow and ice.
But anyway, I met such a kind, loving people in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
They are the women ministry in the church, and
Mm-hmm.
they helped me so much. They even found me in an apartment, a
Mm-hmm.
furnished apartment.
I hope they found you a pair of boots too.
They
Oh,
did,
good.
but I didn't know what to do with them. Why?
I could imagine after spending your life wearing sandals, and flip flops, it would be really uncomfortable to put on a pair of boots.
Anyway, but the challenge to get through the winter is not as bad as where I came from. So
That's true. That's true. So after your first winter, did you decide that you were going to stay in Connecticut and tough out the winter, or how did you end up in Florida?
well, at that time when I arrived in Connecticut, I had no option.
Mm,
I barely speak a few words,
that's
and
true.
I
Yeah.
don't have a job,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have a degree or high school diploma to show because I came empty-handed, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
had to rebuild my life, keep up with the winter, and relearn
Mm-hmm.
everything. I
Mm-hmm.
made it out. I made it.
Yeah.
I learned the English. Um, I took the exam to get my high school diploma, and
Mm-hmm.
then registered for college. I found myself a job and support myself and pay for my school. So I was determined that I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be educated because
Mm-hmm.
that's what my mom, my parents told me to.
Mm-hmm.
So
So that you basically discovered and lived the American dream.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And to answer another part of your question,
Uh-huh.
will they come? Will my family come along with me? No, at that time that I escaped, I they didn't come along.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was too frail to travel,
Mm-hmm.
but later on, a few years later, they escaped, but they got very challenging situation.
Mm-hmm.
But we worked it out. It took me
Mm-hmm.
5 years to take them out from the refugee camp to
Oh,
United States. It's a
Oh.
lot of hard work, but
Mm-hmm.
but it paid off finally.
Mm-hmm. And so when you brought them to the United States, you were still in Connecticut, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So how did they like the winters?
They didn't like it, but they like it closer to me. So
Jeez, I couldn't imagine what a shock, a culture shock that would be. And I also wondered, and this is something I was thinking about even before, we started talking as I was just doing the show notes and looking at your profile, just having to learn English. English is not an easy language.
right, right.
And that had to have been incredibly difficult. But when you look back at all of the difficulties that you had, that you were able to overcome, I would think that learning English and learning how to assimilate into our society was probably much easier than anything else that you've ever done.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So you did finish college,
Yes, I did.
and your degree is in?
Mathematics,
Of course it is.
of course, because it's easy for me. I cannot graduate with any other degree because they require reading with in English and everything. So math is math. Math is numbers.
That's true. That's true. And math is math, and the rules are always the same with math. That's the one thing about it that I do like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so then what happened? Did you teach math?
No, I thought about becoming a teacher, but I was I'm too soft. I cannot survive the kids in United States.
And a good point. I can really appreciate that. Yes.
But I did find a good job, a salary job in a corporation.
Mhm.
Um, and then I got married.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that when you went down to Florida?
That's many years later.
Okay.
Many moves later.
Mhm.
My husband, after he married me, he 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 found different position. So we have to move to a different state again and again for 4 or 5 times.
Oh.
So during those moves, I was like a trailing wife, just stay
Mhm.
behind, try to sell the house, try to, organize everything else, let him go ahead and start a new
Mhm.
position and all that. So I have been acting as the trailing wife for many years. But during that time, I discovered that I can do something like a independent consultant, like
Mhm.
a representative of a company.
Mhm.
So I can be flexible. I don't need to worry about my mood and all that. So
Mhm.
that's how my entrepreneurship started
Mm.
to develop throughout the years.
Mhm.
So I haven't been working full time in a corporation for 30 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good for you.
I
So
don't know if good or not.
I know. The life of an entrepreneur is not always easy, but compared to what you've been through, it's a piece of cake. So that explains too, just with all of the health issues that you had with your experience and what you've gone through. What's the name of it? It's the smart, healthy living that almost seems like a natural segue for you. And
Yes,
and even when you were talking about like the leaves or the herbs or whatever that you were finding on the trees that you knew to take when you're sick, I mean, that's ancient wisdom and ancient healing that it seems
yes,
like, especially here in the United States, we have completely forgotten about.
yes. I always interested in the natural remedy since I was young. I don't know. My very first book I ever bought in my possession
Mm-hmm.
is the Vitamin Bible. That's the name of the book, the Vitamin Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you,
It says a lot, doesn't it? It's full of
yes,
great information. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we forget about things like that. We forget about nutrients and vitamins and natural healing and herbs.
Yeah.
Especially in this country, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so when did your entrepreneurship, when did you write your book, and how did you launch yourself into, now you're also, as well as your wellness company, you've got you've got your book and you've got your speaker platform. So how did that happen? And tell us a little bit more about your book. I'm sure the audience would love to hear that.
Yes, back in 2015, this a few years after my mom had passed,
Mm-hmm.
I took care of my mom as a caregiver
Mm-hmm.
for 13 years.
Wow.
13 years. I took care of her. So my entrepreneurial venture did not go as fast as I imagined, but that's how flexible being an entrepreneur is.
Mm-hmm.
When my life obligation, the priority in my life is focusing on take care of my mom,
Mm-hmm.
I shift my focus into take care of my mom. So
Mm-hmm.
my entrepreneurship can wait, I put it in the back burner or did it on a very low scale. And
Mm-hmm.
then in 2015, after I went through the grief and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody suggesting that I should write an article or write a book about wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, no, I don't have any credential and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
this person liked my talk when I speak at the seminar or something. They like my topic, but I don't feel like this is the right thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when she mentioned book, and I start to think about, oh, if I can write a book, what kind of book would I write?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I remember I can write a book about my story.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried to bury it long time ago. It had
Mm-hmm.
been more than 30 years at that
Yeah.
time,
Wow.
35 years at that time. I forgot most of the things. So, and then later on when I saw her again, I said, I have a book to write. By then, some of people know a little bit about my background and they invite me to speak, to share about my story. So I
Mm-hmm.
share my story, and people in my audience, they cry. One lady, she cried because she remember one of her son passed away of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
That caught my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I was amazed that people live in this prosperous country still um, go through difficult time,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up taking their own life.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that if I share my story,
Mm-hmm.
they might they might change their mind about taking
Mm-hmm.
their own life. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's all I thought about. I say I might help other people. So I decided, okay, go ahead and write a book.
When you were writing the book, I'm really curious, as you were writing it and going through your story, was it difficult for you to go back and did it feel like you were experiencing some of those emotions and some of those difficulties all over again? Because I mean, I know I wrote a memoir and it wasn't that bad of a story, but it just going through it took me in that same like emotional roller coaster. So what was that like, especially after 35 years? It's almost like opening up this Pandora's box. You don't know what's going to come flying out at you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, it's more of the memory. I forgot most of them because I tried to forget, and I did forget
Mm-hmm.
until I need to out, dig out, and but um, in my case, when I when I reunited with my family the very first time, my joy was overwhelming. And I forget all the hardship that I went through for 4 years. And I forgave them. I did not need to remind myself and remember and rethinking about those again. And especially when I realized that the whole country went through the same thing.
Right.
It's not me. So I forgave a long time ago. That's how I can live at peace, calmly in myself. So when I wrote the book, it did not stir up too bad. But the challenge was the memory. I forgot a lot of them.
I think what you just said really speaks to the power of forgiveness too. That that it is, you can't just hold things inside of you for so long. So thank you for sharing that. And there's another thing I just wanted you to touch on, because I thought this was really poignant and very important, that you said that you believe that because you survived, it's like part of your duty to be able to help others who, for example, like this woman who had lost her son, and to help other people realize that we all go through really terrible things. And it's not our duty just to, survive, but to be able to survive, forgive, and thrive.
Yes. Yes, I believe that. I believe so. It's not enough just to survive for ourselves. For me, I survive because I want to help out my family. But now that my duty, that I already complete my duty, now it's my duty to help out other people. Because when we share the story, when we share the challenge, people come together because we can relate. We can relate to one another, and we can help each other. That, life, it's not smooth sailing. We go through up and down, but it's always, if we are optimistic, if we are positive, if we have faith, you will end up okay. You will be on top of the challenges.
And you are living, walking proof of that.
I hope that I can be like the example to help people to have that hope. Keep up that hope. Never give up hope.
Well, again, you are a wonderful example of that. So tell us a little bit about your show. You do a live weekly show on Facebook. And what is it? Thriving Conversations? Oh, gosh, how about my brain? I remember that. Yes, it's a Thriving Conversation. That's the title of the show.
Yeah, the Thriving Conversation is the live show on Facebook. We, my co-host Lee Tran and we got together at the beginning of the pandemic. My friend Lee, she's from Vietnam. She and her family escaped through the boat. So she have her own story, and she have a book. Her book is "I Did Not Miss the Boat." So that's
that's great.
So
I love the sense of humor. You both have a really, really sharp sense of humor and wit, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So Lee called me up. We met like 1 month before the pandemic. The first time we ever met, we ever know each other. So Lee was pretty nervous. And said, "Oh, it's pandemic. What should we do?" So she called me up. "I have an idea." So we talk. So that's the show come up from that conversation. We said, we have been through difficult time. Now this is a difficult time that's hitting the whole world, not just us. We can do something to help relieve that anxiety. So that's originally we get on Monday through Friday every day.
Wow.
From 5 to 5:30. We just a conversation between us how we got through the tough time, and we give words of encouragement and all that, all the wisdom. So so that's how it got started. And now
it's on YouTube, isn't it? Because you have an awful lot of views on YouTube for the show.
Yeah, we have some on YouTube, but we got too busy. We did not get to upload to YouTube all. It's just a few.
Yeah.
We
Well, a
uploaded.
daily show, that is huge.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
lot of work.
Keep us very busy. But now we have guests. We invite guests for us to interview them, to help them tell about their story. So most of our guests, they have something thriving to talk about. They have been through difficult time before, but they overcome it. And now it's time for them to try to share. So that's what our show is about.
Awesome. Okay, and your health business, can you tell us a little bit about that? Your wellness business?
My wellness business, right now I'm focusing on the overall wellness, mental, emotional, and physical. Not too much of physical anymore because I've done that for a long time. Now I'm focused on mental and spiritual and emotional through my speaking and podcast, and now I add coaching service to it.
I'm really curious. When you were when you were in Cambodia and you were held captive, if you could have looked forward all of those years later and see where you are right now, would you have believed that that would be possible? To be living in a country like this and to have so many connections and so many blessings and so many wonderful things, right at your fingertips, would you have believed it was even possible?
Not at all. Not even a dream. I never dream of a life like I live right now. But this is to show you we are not in full control of our life. Our life can be much better than you think of. So I believe in God and trusting in God. So
well, he got you out of that infirmary, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
And he cleared the jungle of the snakes for you too. I thought that was very nice.
I know. He directed our steps, so he know how to direct us to the right path. I just amazed that we even get out of the jungle. I'm amazed myself.
Yeah. I am too. I'm amazed at everything that you've done. I'm amazed at everything that you managed to survive. It just is so incredible. Now tell the audience where they can find you. So I of course I'm going to have all of your links and your social media, etc., in the show notes, in the description. But I always want my guests to be able to say it, themselves, of where they can find you, anything in particular that you want to leave with the audience, where they can find your book, how they can find your show, your daily show, which I can't believe you do that. So go ahead and take it away, Sara.
Thank you. The best way to find me is through my website, saraim.com. Just my first name and last name, SARAIM.com. When you go there, there is a tab to find my book. There is a tab to look at the different events, and the tab that they can schedule a like a discovery session with me to see how I can help them. And also there's a tab about my speaking engagement. They can invite me to speak at their event. So if you have anything going on and you want to invite me to inspire your audience, feel free to reach out.
Well, you are a very inspiring woman. If there's one last thing you could leave with the audience, what would that be? One like final little pearl of wisdom that they could kind of cling to.
one pearl of wisdom, I would say, have a purpose for your life, a purpose that's full with love. Because when you live your life with love and your purpose, you will make it through. No matter what challenge you are going through, you will make it.
That's beautiful. Sara, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been such an amazing episode. This has been such an incredible conversation. I really appreciate not only you being here, but thank you for everything that you have done and that you are doing to help encourage other people to realize that this really is a beautiful life. It's a great country. You have so many opportunities, and that we really can survive and overcome terrible, terrible situations.
Yes, yes. I appreciate you for having this show, for this idea, and appreciate for having me as your guest. Thank you.
Well, you are welcome, and thank you again. I cannot thank you enough for and I can't even find the words to articulate how much I really appreciate everything that you've done in your life. You are truly an amazing, amazing person, and thanks for that.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you for listening. As always, I really appreciate it. And remember that to live your life with love and purpose, and you can get through anything. Do check out Sara's website, connect with her. She's an amazing person, as you can tell. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.